The Anderson estate didn't look like a home. It looked like a fortress designed by a paranoid algorithm. It was a cantilevered slab of concrete, steel, and floor-to-ceiling glass hanging off the jagged edge of the Hollywood Hills, accessible only by a winding, treacherous road that was currently surrendering to gravity under the assault of a relentless atmospheric river. I sat in my truck at the main gate, the engine idling, watching the windshield wipers fight a losing battle against the deluge. My name is Zaire Gray. I build safe spaces for people who have too much money and too many enemies. Usually, I deal with the principals, the CEOs who think they're gods, the politicians with shadows to hide, the paranoid stars. I don't deal with the spouses. Spouses are usually the ones being protected or the ones being hidden. But the work order on my tablet was explicit, flagged with a crimson urgent tag. Client, Meredith Anderson. Priority, immediate. Notes, client requests, total system audit. Principal, Marcus Anderson, is out of the country, Tokyo. I knew Marcus Anderson. He was a tech mogul who specialized in data mining and behavioral prediction. He was arrogant, loud, and paid his invoices 45 days late just to prove he could. He had hired my firm to install the perimeter system 2 years ago, a military-grade mesh of sensors and cameras. I hadn't been back since. I pressed the intercom button. Rainwater streamed down my sleeve. Zaire Gray, I said into the mesh. Gray Point Security. I have an appointment with Mrs. Anderson. The gate clicked. No voice. No verification question. Just the mechanical thunk of the solenoid releasing, and the heavy steel gates swung open silently. I drove up the winding driveway, the tires crunching on wet gravel. The rain blurred the lights of Los Angeles below into a smear of indistinct neon, a world away. I parked next to a silver Porsche that looked like it hadn't moved in weeks. A layer of wet leaves plastered its hood like a shroud. I grabbed my kid a waterproof Pelican case containing RF scanners, spectrum analyzers, debuggers, and a laptop that cost more than my first 3 cars combined. I stepped out into the storm. The wind hit me instantly, cold and biting. The front door was glass. Massive, 12 feet high, pivoting on a central axis. It opened before I could knock. Meredith Anderson stood there. I had seen her in photos, mostly in the background of Marcus's press releases or charity gala spreads. In the pictures, she was always smiling, always impeccably dressed, a trophy polished to a high shine to reflect her husband's success. In person, standing in the harsh, recessed lighting of the foyer, she looked thinner, sharper. She was wearing a silk blouse the color of champagne and wide-legged trousers, her feet bare on the polished concrete floor. Her hair, a dark auburn, was pulled back so tight it pulled at the skin of her temples. She held a glass of red wine in one hand and a black universal remote in the other. "Mr. Gray," she said. Her voice was low, calm, but it carried a tremor, a micro-frequency of stress that my ears, tuned to hear footsteps on gravel from 50 yards away, picked up instantly. "Mrs. Anderson," I said, stepping inside and deliberately wiping my boots on the mat to respect the space. "I received your request. Is the system malfunctioning?" "The system is working perfectly," she said, her eyes meeting mine. They were dark, intelligent, and exhausted. "That's the problem." She turned and walked into the living room. The space was vast, dominated by a 30-foot wall of glass that looked out over the storm. It was beautiful, architectural, and completely exposed. I followed her. The house was cold. Not just because of the glass, but the climate control was set to a sterile 68 degrees. It felt less like a living space and more like a server room. "Your ticket said you wanted to discuss Mr. Anderson's surprises," I said, setting my Pelican case down on a glass table with a soft thud. "Marcus loves gadgets," she said, taking a sip of wine. Her hand shook slightly. "He loves knowing things. He loves control. Before he left for Tokyo yesterday, he told me he had installed a surprise upgrade to the security. For my protection," he said. "He said he wanted me to feel safe while he was gone." She pointed the remote at the massive television integrated into the stone wall. I scanned them automatically. Top left, main gate. Top middle, driveway. Top right, garage interior. Middle left, backyard, pool. Standard perimeter coverage. Nothing unusual. "These look normal, Mrs. Anderson," I said. "Standard defensive perimeter." "Look closer," she said. "Swipe left." She handed me the remote. Her fingers brushed mine, and they were ice cold. I took the remote and swiped. The grid changed. My stomach dropped. Feed 1. Kitchen. Wide angle. Feed 2. Living room. Current view of us standing there. Feed 3. Hallway. Feed 4. Master bedroom. These weren't perimeter cameras. These were interior high-definition feeds positioned with professional precision to eliminate blind spots. He put cameras inside? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. He put cameras everywhere, she corrected, hugging her arms around her chest. Except the bathrooms, as far as I can tell. But I'm not sure. That's why you're here. He said it's to keep me safe. But Mr. Gray, I can't turn them off. I tried. I don't have the admin code. He does. He's watching me from Tokyo. I looked at the screen. I saw myself, standing there in my wet jacket, looking at the image of myself looking at the screen. It was a feedback loop of violation. That's unusual, I said. And in California, interior surveillance with audio usually requires explicit consent from all residents. Did you sign anything? I signed a system update form last week, she whispered, looking at her wine glass. I didn't read the fine print. I trusted him. I can disable them, I said. But he'll know. The system is cloud-based. It will send a tamper alert to his phone immediately. I don't care, she said, her voice gaining a sudden, sharp edge. I can't live in a fishbowl, Zaire. I can't breathe in my own house. I feel like an insect in a jar. She dropped the remote onto the sofa. Kill them. Okay, I said. I'll kill the feeds. I knelt and opened my case. I took out my laptop, a ruggedized unit designed for field ops. I located the house network port concealed under the side table standard install for this architecture. I plugged in via Ethernet. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Marcus had set up a secure VPN, essentially creating a private tunnel for the data. But he was arrogant. He had used the default port configuration for the remote access server. I'm going to isolate the interior subnet, I explained, my voice dropping into the tactical calm register I used during crisis negotiations. I'm not deleting the cameras physically yet, because that's property damage and I don't want to expose you to liability. I'm building a digital wall around them. I'm rerouting their output to a null loop. To him, it will look like a connection failure. Will he see that I did it? He'll see connection lost, ISP failure, I said. He'll think it's the storm knocking out the internet uplink. Plausible deniability. I typed the command. Execute script. On the big screen, the interior feeds froze for a second, then went black. Meredith let out a long breath, her entire body sagging as if a physical weight had been removed from her shoulders. Thank you, she said. I'm not done, I said, standing up. You said you weren't sure about the bathrooms. I need to sweep the house. Physical inspection. RF scanner. Thermal imaging. If there are hidden bugs or standalone units that aren't on the network, I'll find them. Please, she said, check everything. I spent the next 2 hours moving through the house. I swept the master bedroom, checking the smoke detectors, the vents, the headboard. I swept the bathrooms. I swept the guest suite. I was methodical. Grid search, high to low. I found 3 audio bugs. 1 taped under the frame of the dining table. 1 hidden inside the canopy of the chandelier. 1 wedged behind the books in the library. I placed them on the solid granite kitchen island in a neat row. They were small, black discs, expensive, voice-activated, long battery life. Meredith stared at them. She didn't cry. She just looked, hollowed out. He's gathering evidence, she said quietly. For the divorce. He hasn't filed yet, but he will. He wants to prove I don't know, unfit, or he just wants to know what I say to my sister. He wants to know if I'm spending money. He wants to own the narrative. These are illegal, I said, pulling out a Faraday bag, a signal-blocking pouch from my kit. California is a 2-party consent state. He can't use these in court, but the fact that they're here changes the nature of my job. I'm not doing a system audit anymore, I said, dropping the bugs into the bag and sealing it. I'm securing a crime scene. I'm logging these into the chain of custody. If you need a lawyer, this bag goes to them. Do not touch them. Marcus doesn't care about the law, she said, looking out at the rain. He cares about leverage. Suddenly, the house lights flickered. The smart home panel on the wall beeped a sharp, dissonant sound. System override. Perimeter. Breach. The red light on the panel pulsed. I moved instantly. I grabbed Meredith's arm gently but firmly and pulled her away from the glass wall, positioning my body between her and the outside. "Get down," I commanded. "What is it?" she gasped. "The perimeter sensors just tripped," I said, checking the alert on my tablet. "Zone 4. The guest house gate. It's the pedestrian access point." "It's probably a deer," she said. "Or the wind. It's storming." "Deer don't enter valid keypad codes," I said, looking at the data log. "Someone just punched in a user code at the guest gate. A code that isn't yours. And it wasn't Marcus. Who else has a code? The housekeeper. The pool guy. But they don't come at 8 p.m. Especially not in a storm." I pulled up the camera feed for the guest gate. It was grainy with rain and low light. I saw a shadow moving. A figure in a hooded raincoat. "Stay here," I said. "Stay behind the kitchen island. It's solid stone." "Where are you going?" "To ask them to leave," I said. I didn't carry a gun. My license permitted it, but in a client's home, a gun creates more problems than it solves. It escalates situations that can be de-escalated. I carried a high-lumen tactical flashlight and a collapsible baton. And I carried the knowledge of how to disable a human being quickly and efficiently. I moved to the side door. I slipped out into the rain. The cold hit me again. I circled the house, sticking to the architectural shadows. I moved silently, my boots finding traction on the wet stone pavers. I was in my element now. The tech bro facade was necessary for sales. But the physical reality of threat assessment, was where I lived. I rounded the corner of the guest house. I saw the figure. They were trying to pry open the lock on the guest house door with a tool. I stepped out of the shadows. I blinded them. With the flashlight, 2,000 lumens of white light, disorienting and painful. "Step away from the door," I barked. The figure spun around. They dropped a crowbar. They raised their hands. It wasn't a professional hitman. It wasn't Marcus. It was a kid, maybe 20 years old. Soaking wet, shaking, terrified. I was just. The kid stammered. "On your knees," I ordered. "Hands on your head. Now." He complied, dropping into the mud. I approached him from the blind side. I patted him down for weapons. He had a screwdriver and a cheap burner phone. "Who are you?" I asked. "Delivery," he squeaked. A man paid me. $500. Venmo," he said, "to leave a package in the guest house." He gave me the gate code. "What package?" He pointed to a plastic bag lying in the mud. I shone the light on it. "Get out of here," I said, stepping back. "If I see you on this property again, you go to jail. Go." The kid ran. He scrambled over the gate and disappeared into the rain. I picked up the bag. I went back to the main house. Meredith was where I left her, crouching behind the island. She stood up when I entered, her face pale, her hands trembling. "It wasn't an attack," I said, putting the bag on the counter. "It was a message. From Marcus, I assume." She opened the bag. She pulled out the files. She scanned the first page. Her hand flew to her mouth. A sound escaped her throat, a wounded, animal sound. "What is it?" I asked. "It's my medical records," she whispered. "From 20 years ago. Before I met him? Therapy notes? Depression treatment after my father died? My journals? Why would he send those?" "To show me he has them," she said, her voice trembling with rage and shame. "To show me he can leak them. To humiliate me. It's a warning. I know everything. Don't try to leave me." She looked at me. The fear was receding, replaced by a cold, hard anger. "He's not protecting me," she said. "He's hunting me." I looked at the bugs in the evidence bag. I looked at the files. I looked at the rain hammering against the glass, isolating us from the world. The road was likely washing out by now. We were trapped. "Then we need to fortify the position," I said. "Because if he sent a kid tonight to deliver a psychological blow, he might send someone serious tomorrow to enforce the lock." We spent the night turning the glass box into a fortress. I recoded the perimeter locks, locking out every code except mine and hers. I jammed the physical locks on the secondary doors. Meredith didn't go to bed. She stayed with me. She made coffee strong, black, the way I liked it. She followed me as I checked the window latches. She wasn't wringing her hands anymore. She was watching, learning. "You're good at this," she said, watching me reinforce a sliding door with a security bar I found in the garage. "It's just logic," I said. "Find the weak point, strengthen it, deny access." "I'm the weak point," she said softly. I stopped. I looked at her. She was sitting on the sofa, her legs tucked under her. She looked exhausted, but beautiful, in the way a storm is beautiful, charged with energy. "No," I said. "You're the asset. The asset is valuable. The asset needs to be protected." "I don't feel valuable," she said. "I feel like a possession." "Possessions don't fight back," I said. "You hired me? You cut the feeds? That's fighting back. That's agency." I walked over to her. I stood a few feet away, respecting the space. "You asked me to check the surprises," I said. "I found them. Now we have to decide what to do with them." "I want to burn them," she said. "But I won't. I'll keep them. I'll use them." "Good strategy," I said. "But first, we survived the weekend. The storm is getting worse. The mudslides are blocking the canyon road. We're stuck here, Meredith." She looked at the window. The rain was a solid sheet of gray. "I'm not afraid," she said. She looked at me. "Not with you here." It was a simple sentence, but it hit me harder than a physical blow. I was used to being the hired gun, the invisible shield. I wasn't used to being seen. "I'm not going anywhere," I promised. We sat in the living room as the storm raged. The power flickered once, twice, then died. "Stay still," I said. I clicked on my tactical light. I set it on the table, pointing it up at the ceiling. It cast a diffuse, ambient glow over the room. "The backup generator should kick in," I said, checking my watch. 10 seconds. It didn't. He cut it, I realized. Remotely. He saw the feeds go down. He saw the system reboot. He's punishing you. He wants you cold, and in the dark. He can do that? "It's a smart home," I said with disgust. "Everything is connected. If he has the master admin, he can turn off the lights, he can turn off the heat, he can vent the pool." The temperature was already dropping. The glass walls, so beautiful in the day, were now just massive heat sinks, sucking the warmth out of the house. "Come here," I said. I moved to the fireplace. It was gas, electronic ignition, dead. "We need body heat," I said. "Do you have blankets? Heavy ones?" "In the bedroom." We retrieved the duvet from the master bed. We brought it to the sofa. We sat under the duvet. It wasn't sexual. It was thermal dynamics, survival. But the proximity was undeniable. I could feel her shivering against my side. I could smell the wine and the fear and the faint scent of her skin. "Tell me about him," I said quietly. "Marcus. He was charming," she said. "At first, he made me feel safe. I grew up chaotic, poor. He was so solid. He had a plan for everything. He optimized my life." "Plans are good," I said. "Until they become cages." "Exactly," she whispered. "He started making decisions for me. Small ones. What to wear. Where to eat. Then big ones. Who I could see. When I could go out. And then, the cameras." She turned her head. Her face was inches from mine in the dim light. "He calls them surprises," she said. "Gifts. Look, darling, I installed a system so I can always see you. Isn't that romantic?" "It's not romantic," I said. "It's surveillance." "I know," she said. "I know that now." She reached out. Her hand found mine under the blanket. Her fingers were cold. I took my phone from my pocket and placed it face down on the table, a signal that my attention was entirely hers. I wasn't checking alerts. I was present. "Zaire," she said. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not telling me I'm crazy. For believing me." "I believe the data," I said. "The data says you're being stalked by your husband." She squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. I knew I shouldn't. I knew this was a line. I was the security consultant. She was the client. But the house was dark. The world was locked out by the rain. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to be the tactical calm guy. I wanted to be the guy who held the hand of the woman who needed him. "You're safe," I whispered. "I'm the wall he can't breach." "I know," she said. And then she fell asleep, her head resting on my shoulder. I didn't sleep. I watched the shadows. I listened to the wind. I planned. Morning brought gray light, but no power. The rain had stopped, but the driveway was a river of mud. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're fired. Get off my property. M. Marcus." I showed the phone to Meredith. She was making coffee on a camping stove I'd found in my truck. "He knows you're here," she said. "He saw the gate log before I locked him out," I said. "He probably checked the backup logs on the remote server. Are you going to leave?" "No," I said. "I don't work for him. I work for the resident. You signed the work order. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and residence counts. He'll call the police," she said. "He'll say you're trespassing." "Let him," I said. "I have a signed contract, and I have 3 illegal listening devices in an evidence bag. If the police come, we have a conversation about felony wiretapping laws." She smiled. It was a fierce, dangerous smile. "I like that plan. We need to get the power back," I said. "I need to go to the generator shed. It's manual override time." I went out. The mud was ankle deep. The generator shed was behind the garage. I opened the panel. It wasn't just switched off electronically. The fuel line had been crimped with a pair of pliers. A physical sabotage. He must have had someone do this before he left. A failsafe. I used my multi-tool to cut the damaged section of the line. I spliced it. It was messy, diesel soaking my gloves, but I got it reconnected. I primed the pump. I pulled the manual start cord. The generator roared to life. I walked back to the house. The lights were on. The heat was humming. Meredith met me at the door with a towel. She wiped the rain from my face. It was such a domestic gesture it made my heart ache. "Power's on," I said. "I see that," she said. "And the internet is back." "Good," I said. "Change your passwords. All of them. Bank, email, social. Right now. Use a phrase, not a word. Something he wouldn't guess." "I'm doing better than that," she said, opening her laptop. "I'm transferring funds to a secure escrow account. He gave me power of attorney 3 years ago for emergencies. I'm moving enough to freeze his liquidity so he can't hire a disruption team, but not enough for him to claim theft. I'm securing my legal defense fund." "That's a smart move," I said, impressed. "Strategic. I'm done being a possession," she said. Suddenly, the perimeter alarm blared. A high-pitched siren that cut through the house like a knife. Perimeter breach. Main gate. I ran to the living room. I pulled up the feed on my laptop. A black SUV had rammed the gate, forcing it open. It was driving up the mud-slick driveway, fishtailing but coming fast. It wasn't the police. It was private security. Marcus's cleaner team. "They're coming," I said. "Hired muscle," I said, "to remove the trespasser. Me. And probably to secure you." "What do we do?" "We hold the fort," I said. "I spent all night fortifying this glass box. Let's see how it holds." I hit a key on my laptop. Engage lockdown. Steel shutters intended for fire protection slammed down over the windows. The front door bolts engaged with a heavy thunk. The house went dark again, lit only by the emergency LEDs. "Go to the master bath," I told Meredith. "It's the only room with no windows. Lock the door. Do not open it unless you hear my voice. Not anyone else's. Zaire." She ran. I stood in the center of the living room. I extended my baton with a sharp snap. I watched the camera feed on my laptop. 3 men got out of the SUV. They were big. They wore generic tactical gear. No badges. They approached the front door. They tried the handle. Locked. One of them pulled out a tool, a bump key gun. I watched him work. He was good. The lock clicked. The door opened. They stepped into the foyer. I hit the button on my phone. House alarm. Panic mode. The internal siren screamed at 120 decibels. Strobe lights flashed blindingly bright. The men flinched, covering their ears. I stepped out from the hallway. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The noise was my weapon. I took the first one out with a leg sweep. He went down hard on the concrete, his head bouncing. The second one lunged. I sidestepped. I drove the baton into his solar plexus. He doubled over. But the third one, the leader, was fast. He didn't cover his ears. He swung a heavy flashlight. It connected with my shoulder. Pain exploded down my arm. I stumbled back. He swung again. I blocked it with my forearm, but the force jarred my teeth. He was trained. He tackled me. We went down. He was on top, landing heavy punches to my ribs. I tasted blood. I couldn't match his weight, so I used the environment. I grabbed the rug he was kneeling on. I yanked. He slipped. His balance broke. I rolled. I got on top. I didn't punch. I pressed my forearm against his carotid artery. A sleeper hold. Sleep, I hissed. He thrashed. He clawed at my face. I held on. 3 seconds. 5. 10. He went limp. I rolled off him, gasping for air. My shoulder throbbed. My lip was split. I zip-tied them. Then I called the police. "This is Zaire Gray. Gray Point Security," I told the dispatcher, wiping blood from my mouth. "I have detained 3 intruders at the Anderson estate. I am declaring a citizen's arrest. Send a unit. I have video evidence of the break-in." I walked to the master bedroom. I was limping slightly. I knocked on the bathroom door. "Meredith, it's me. It's clear." The door opened. She stood there, holding a heavy marble statue. She looked ready to swing it. "You're bleeding," she gasped, dropping the statue. "I'm fine," I said. "Just a split lip." She reached out. She touched my face. Her hands were shaking. "You fought them," she whispered. "They invaded your home," I said. "I evicted them." She collapsed against me. I caught her with my good arm. "It's over," I said. The police came. Statements were taken. I handed over the flash drives with the camera logs and the bag containing the audio bugs. The chain of custody was flawless. Marcus called while the police were there. I put him on speaker. "Meredith, stop this nonsense," he barked. "Let the security team in. They are there for your safety." "They're in handcuffs, Marcus," Meredith said, her voice icy calm. "And I'm filing for a restraining order and divorce. And I've secured the funds. You can't freeze me out." "You can't do that." "Watch me," she said, "and don't come home. The locks have been changed, and Zaire has updated the biometric access. You're locked out." She hung up. She looked at me. "Did I do it right?" "Perfect execution," I said. The storm broke that evening. The clouds cleared, revealing the city lights below. I packed my kit. My job was done. The system was secure. The threat was neutralized. Meredith walked me to my truck. The mud was drying. "So," she said, "you're leaving." "Contract fulfilled," I said. "You're safe." "I need a permanent security consultant," she said. "Someone to oversee the transition, to make sure the system stays secure." "I'm expensive," I warned, "and I don't usually do residential." "I can afford you," she said. "I have the escrow account." I smiled. It hurt my lip, but it was worth it. "I'll send you an invoice." I opened the truck door. I hesitated. "Meredith," I said. "The cameras," I said. "The interior ones. Do you want me to rip them out? Or just leave them disabled?" "Rip them out," she said. "I don't want to be watched anymore." "I'll come back tomorrow," I said, with a ladder and a pry bar. "Come back tonight," she said. I looked at her. She wasn't asking for security. She was asking for me. "I'm technically off the clock," I said. "Good," she said. "Because I don't want to talk to the consultant. I want to talk to Zaire." She reached out and took my hand. "It's just us," she whispered. "No cameras. No Marcus. Just us." I looked at the house. It wasn't a fortress anymore. It wasn't a glass cage. It was just a house where a woman lived. "Okay," I said. "I'll stay." I closed the truck door. I walked back toward the house with her. "I still hate that white noise machine," I said. She laughed. "We can smash that too." "Deal," I said. The end?